Well, I just want to say good morning and thank you so much for coming to the media captioning presentation. Tara and I are both from the Disability Resource Center. And so for this first slide, we're going to talk about the overview for our time together this morning. And we'll just go ahead and we'll start off with our introduction. So my name is Emily Paul. I work at the Disability Resource Center. I am the Media Accessibility Assistant Director. So that really means I work with media captioning and I also work with document conversion services. I've been at the DRC or Disability Resource Center for a while, and I just wanted to share that I did do my undergraduate at the time CCE, but in the intercollege program. And one of my areas that I did in that program was captioning. So it's kind of fun to be here and then to be talking about captioning still all these many years later. So just excited to be here. And Tara, go ahead and you can introduce yourself.
Thanks, Emily. This is Tara. Emily, can you hear me okay? I'm just doing a little audio check. Awesome. My name's Tara Schlechter, and I also work at the Disability Resource Center. I am the media captioning coordinator, which basically means I help the media magic happen in our office. I have been in our office, I think this is my 6th year. I'm like halfway through my 6th year. And before I was in this particular role, I was actually a real-time captionist. If anyone has any experience working with our staff in that capacity. And so I have just been in captioning land for quite some time, and I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. Also up here in the overview, we're going to go over an accessibility check. And part of that is if we do have some slides posted with this, but if you need a different version or format that works better for you or a screen reader version, just go ahead and reach out to me and I'll get a different format to you. And my email is going to be at the end of the presentation. And so after we go over an accessibility check, we're going to do a poll, and then we're going to talk about our goals together. Our goals for our time together today. And then Tara's going to discuss and define what is quality media captioning, since that's really what we're going for. And then also ways to use accessible course videos. And specifically, Tara's going to talk about using YouTube or Kaltura, and she'll also demo the editing tool that's within Canvas. So some of you may post videos and you probably use Kaltura when you do that, so within Canvas. And then we're going to conclude by talking about working with the DRC to provide media captioning accommodations. So we're going to kind of start a little more general, talking about media captioning in general, and end with when there's an actual accommodation in your course, or you get notified about that and what that process is, and then also how you can work with our office. Okay, so the next slide here is access measures. And so just really, to start off, we've got the live transcript is enabled. So down at the bottom, if you're not sure how to do that, if you see more and the ... if it doesn't come up for you, you can also there show subtitle, and then the captions will pop up. Those are automatic or ASR, computer generated, or you can view the full transcript off to the side. So if that's new to you, you have that option. We're just going to ask that you keep your mute setting on for the duration of the presentation. But if you do have any access needs, please put them in the chat, and you can either there's a tech support person that's in this session. They can either help, or Tara and I can help answer your questions. And then also we will be taking just general questions about the presentation. We just ask that you write them in the chat. And then we'll figure out how to kind of address them. Maybe at the end of each section, we'll kind of go over what questions or comments are in there and share them with everyone as time allows at the end of each one. Okay, so we're going to do a poll. I've never done a poll before, so I'm kind of excited about this. So I'll pop the poll up here. Okay, and this poll is how familiar are you with providing accessible media in your course? And you can choose very, some, a little, not at all. So just kind of give Tara and I an idea of like how much detail to maybe go into. Okay. Well, it looks like a little is the majority here, but also some people have experience, and that's great. So I think something with captioning is as you work on captioning, you quickly discover that obviously the technology changes and that there's so many resources out there. Sometimes it's hard for me to keep up with what should we be doing, what is the fastest way, best way to get good quality captions to somebody. So some of you that have more experience, if you've come across something that doesn't get brought up or having a tip or trick, feel free to put it in the chat, and then everyone else can kind of learn from each other. So thanks for that. And so for today, for our time together, the goals, Tara and I are talking about like, what is it that we are really wanting to do? And we came up with 3 things. And the first is to define ASR captioning. And that's the automatic captions. That's what you're seeing in Zoom here, like a computer generated captioning. Define what those are and identify ways to know when a video has ASR captions. Because really while there is a good need for them and they are helpful to some people, when we get down to talking about an accommodation, it's not ASR captioning, is not what we're wanting. We're wanting accurate, professional captions to create it. And by professional, we mean good quality, accurate captions. And Tara will go into all of those definitions. And then our next goal is to demonstrate some ways to locate or create caption content. So maybe you're just wanting to create all of your content accessible from the get-go. So we want to share some ways that you can do that. And then we want to conclude with talking about the DRC's role related to media captioning accommodation. So if you do receive a notification, or if a student approaches you about it, that you have some information about what to do and how you can work with our office, we can help create caption content or help find it for you. And really, so like before we get into all of that, Tara is going to talk about really setting up like what is quality captioning, what are those ASR captions, and that how do you figure out if the video you're using doesn't actually have accurate captions.
All right. Thanks, Emily. Also, thanks in advance, everyone, for my patience as I navigate my screens. So if something seems strange, just let me know and I'll fix it. So this is Tara again, and on the screen, as Emily said, I'm going to start talking about what quality captioning is. And I'm just starting off with a cute image that I found actually by Googling bad captioning examples. And I found this image. I'm not sure where it's from, but it's an image of 2 people who look like they're caroling. And underneath the captions say, "Read off the rent those reindeer." And the implication is that they are probably singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But these automatically generated captions are just doing their best to guess what's being said. And this was the result. So what is quality captioning? The big takeaway for today is that useful captions are more than accurate words. A lot of other things need to be considered when you are editing or analyzing the captions that you have on recorded media. Good captions also include things like relevant synchronicity. And what I mean by that is basically, are the captions keeping pace with the video, especially during a presentation where there are slides. If the captions are lagging behind what's going on in the lecture, it can be really distracting and hard to bounce back and forth between what you're reading and what's happening on the screen. The second bullet point I have is readable pace, which basically means, is there enough time to read each caption line? Yes, sometimes people speak very quickly, but for the most part, captioning is able to stay at a words per minute range that's accessible. And so we want to make sure that we're not shoving a bajillion words in one caption and filling up the entire screen and leaving it on there for 1.7 seconds, right? We want to make sure that the words that are on the screen are actually there for a period of time that is useful. Proper punctuation. What I mean by that are the more kind of obvious things: commas, periods, question marks, things like that. Different people speaking, like little hyphens and stuff, which you'll see maybe later. That might seem obvious in writing, but what it does in captioning is that it really helps clarify and organize the information. In the same way that if you're reading a book, if you took away all of the periods and paragraphs and punctuation, it would read in your brain like a run-on sentence. The same thing happens in captioning. And so even if all of the words are accurate, it can be really difficult to kind of I don't want to say silo off, but to really just organize that information like, okay, this was one thought and now we're beginning this next thought. And these things are related as a list because I can see that there are commas. Those are things that are really easy to take for granted until they go away. And then you're reading the captions and you're like, where am I? What is this person talking about? And then the last bullet is non-speech information. That's sort of specific lingo that we use for things that are not being said, but are things that are still relevant to the audio. So things like speaker identifiers. If you can't see me speaking and my voice comes in from afar, it's important to say Tara, right? Or narrator, because I don't know, sometimes on nature videos, you are watching baboons do something in the wild and then someone's speaking. It's like, well, who's speaking? If you don't have access to that audio information, for whatever reason, that information won't be apparent without that information in the captions. Other things include environmental sounds, which could be anything from audience laughter to those baboons yelling at each other, to a truck pulling up announcing the arrival of someone. Those things especially are usually not included in any kind of automatically generated caption situation. I have noticed that sometimes they will say music now on YouTube, but usually any relevant information that we're kind of using to take away from what's going on is not included with automatically generated captions. So a little bit more about machine generated captions. What I mean by that is the automatically generated captions, the ASR, things like that. And so the first bullet point, machine generated captions are created using voice recognition software. Underneath that, it says also called automatically generated, autogen, or ASR caption. ASR stands for automatic speech recognition. And basically that means something like a Siri. I'm sure Alexa uses this technology, but it's basically a robot listening for speech sounds and doing its best to put that into speech. And second bullet point, each platform uses different technology to generate their captions with varying degrees of success. Kaltura has its own, Zoom uses its own, and YouTube uses Google, and they are all using different software. And so they have different approaches, different accuracy ratings, different things that trip them up, whether it's accents or rate of speech or overlaying sounds, that kind of a thing. Emily mentioned in the beginning of the presentation that Zoom has a live transcript feature. I do want to just take a moment to distinguish a little bit between media captioning, which is what we're talking about today, and the live transcript or real-time captioning access. They are both captioning, but they're basically a little bit different with the kind of event or the kind of online experience that they're referring to. The live transcript option that we have on right now is for the live event. So basically that means, you all could use the ASR right now as reference for me while I'm speaking. And that is available regardless of whether or not we would be recording this session. For media captioning, let's say we wanted to make this session available later, we would want to then create a media captioning track for the presentation later, which would be used as recorded content. And that's what we're talking about today, is how do you caption recorded content? All right, and then the last bullet point is machine generated captions can be helpful for some from a general accessibility perspective, especially during live Zoom events, which is why we always have that on. And then I put underneath, something is usually better than nothing, which is something that we hear a lot, but we're here to do better than that. So machine generated captions continued. I wrote pretty directly that machine generated captions are not quality captions. And why not? Well, I put they will contain incorrect words because it's not a matter of if, it's when. Most do not feature punctuation or use it properly. Rate and readability is unreliable, and there's no speaker identification provided. So you might see, if any of you are using the ASR feature right now, maybe you'll see some of that today while Emily and I are presenting. But later on, if you want to play around on YouTube or look at your own videos on Canvas that haven't been edited, you can definitely review this and you'll see this happen. And furthermore, especially within the context of disability and equity, they are not adequate disability accommodations. And primarily because using captioning as a supplement is very different from relying on captions for access to information. If I don't feel that I have a need to use captioning in order to access information, having those words on the screen can feel extra. And that is not the experience that folks who need captioning as an accommodation are having. They are relying on those captions in order to know what's being said in a video and know what's being shared. And so any error, anything that's kind of unclear, it sort of gets compounded into a bigger impact when you're not necessarily referencing other things to know what's being presented. Okay. Emily, I'll pause now. Has anyone posted any questions? Okay. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to show how to use YouTube to choose caption content. I know that YouTube is full of really good resources that can be really helpful in class. And so I wanted to review a little bit how I go about finding caption content from the get-go, and then you don't have to worry about whether or not it's accessible later on. There are a couple tricks that I'll go over. YouTube will tell you whether or not something is captioned, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then I will also show you how to search for captioned videos using the filter. So on the screen, I have YouTube's welcome page, more or less. I already did a search for mitochondria, hot topic right here in academia. And there are a couple of things I want to point out. Right from the get-go, after you've done your search, you've hit enter, YouTube gives you a list of videos that you can choose from. So from these first few videos here, you can see that after the title and the short explanation that you get, underneath it has this CC in a gray box. This CC indicates that a human on the video creator side of things has touched those captions. Whether or not they did an A++ job editing their captions it can be hit or miss. In general, I found that the captions are usually quite good because people who go in to edit their captions usually do them with a lot of care. But this little CC means that someone somewhere has done that. And then you can see here on this video, mitochondria, how our bodies produce, et cetera, et cetera. There's no CC. So this would indicate to me that the only thing that would be available to me would be the automatic captions. Same with this next purple video here, mitochondria structure and function. There's no gray CC box. Whereas up here, we had Khan Academy and this video from Seeker that both had it listed. So that's hint number one. Hint number two, if you're not searching and you're just like, oh, I have a video, you can also tell, and I will show you. First, I'll show you what it looks like when a video does have human-edited, human-generated captions. I will use this video from Khan Academy. I'm going to pause. So it's not necessary for me to share the audio here, but I think I will, just for effect. Let's see here. Share computer sound. There we go. And then I need to scooch my Zoom out of the way. There we go. All right. So a couple of things that you might have noticed right away. Down here is the CC button, and you can see that it's automatically has this little red highlight underneath. This is typical for videos that have human generated or human created content. It's not automatic, but it's very, very common that a video that has been edited and reviewed in this way will just pop up and show you the captions that were made for this video. But if that does not happen, let's say I opened this video and it was not clicked. What I'm going to do is click the CC button again, but what I'd like you to look at is the upper left-hand corner will give me a message about the captions. So I click that and it says English default. I'm going to show you how that's different later from the automatic captions. But basically, English default tells me that they're not automatically generated, because as you'll see later, when they're automatically generated, it will tell me that. And then, why don't I show you that right now? So if I go back, I will click on this purple video here, which had no gray CC. Ooh, and we get an ad. Wonderful.
Tara, it's Emily. While the ad plays, we have a question.
Oh, perfect.
I'll read it. Yeah. Will this identify captions that are embedded in the video before uploading to YouTube? And I don't think so. I think if your captions are embedded in your video, the ASR is still going to run, but you can go in and turn those off. But in doing that, I get that your video then will be labeled like it is not captioned. And I wonder if there's a way to label that. I'm thinking and talking at the same time. So yeah, I do think the ASR will still get added. And something with YouTube is the user will be able to, if they overlap with the embedded and good captions that are on there, the user can take the ASR and they can drag them around. So they can move them out of the way or they could turn them off.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Emily. Yeah, that's a really good question. And yeah, Emily is absolutely right. The difference sort of, if it's interesting, is the caption tracks that I'm showing today and that you see are kind of separate from the video itself. So there's essentially a video file and a caption file, and on YouTube they run at the same time. And so if a video has captions embedded into it, it's actually part of the video file itself. And so YouTube doesn't know the difference. It's kind of like, you know, if your video had cats or not in it. It's like the video content, YouTube doesn't know. And so words on the screen are kind of the same, if that makes sense.
Tara, it's Emily
Yeah,
again. There's a follow-up question with that. So for search purposes, the video would appear to not have quality captions, correct? And I think that is correct. I don't think then it's going to come up labeled if you have embedded captions.
Right. I think that's right. Yeah. So let's say someone from somewhere, right? Maybe it's a publishing channel or somewhere, you know, you're getting your videos from an educational source. If they have their captions embedded in their videos, they made them themselves, maybe for whatever reason, some places do that, and then uploaded them to YouTube without indicating anything about whether or not captions were included in it, I don't think they would come up with that little CC. So that's a really good point. I think using those videos on YouTube might just be a matter of knowing, like, hey, these folks over here have embedded captions. Okay. Well, this video that I have up right now is the video that I clicked without the CC. And this one has some labels and words on it, but it does not have embedded captions. And I will show you what that looks like. First, upon opening it, you notice that this little CC friend doesn't have a red highlight underneath. And then just like the last video, when I click on it, if you'll look at the upper left-hand corner, when I click it, it says English auto-generated, and it disappears fast, but I'll do it again. English auto-generated. And so that's how you know, that's one of the hints that you know, okay, what I'm about to see caption-wise was not edited or reviewed by a person. The other difference I wanted to show you is in the captions themselves, which might be useful for everyone to see. Automatically generated captions on YouTube use basically what's called roll-on captions, which is they kind of jump and pop up as the speech continues. And I will show you that now, and then I will show you how that does not happen with the professional captions. So here's our ASR, our automatically generated captions.
Mitochondria. Structure. Mitochondria are intracellular organelles found in almost all human cells. Mitochondria are thought to be derived from the aerobic bacteria that invade the proto-eukaryotic cell more than 1 billion years ago and lived.
So that's what we mean by roll-on captions. And you can, I don't know if you noticed, but 20 seconds into the video with very clear speech and a nice pace, we already have a mistake. They were anaerobic, not Arabic. So that is automatically generated captions. And then just to show you the difference one more time before I move on to showing you the filter, I'll show you what I'll let this Khan Academy video play with the human generated captions.
Let's delve into the world of mitochondria, which are probably my favorite organelle. So let's just have a little review of what mitochondria are, and then we can delve a little bit deeper into their structure. So let's just think about a cell, and not just any cell, but a eukaryotic cell. So that's the cellular membrane. And when people say a eukaryote or a eukaryotic cell, they most...
All right, so that's 20-ish seconds of that video, and we can see that the phrases that are being offered in the space given they appear all together. You can see uses of punctuation. You can see the words are correct. The pacing is a little bit different than the automatically generated captions. All right, the one final thing I wanted to show you on YouTube is that mitochondria was actually a really low-hanging fruit as far as having options of different videos to choose from. But let's say you're having a hard time finding videos about your topic that have that little CC button here in your search. What you can actually do here at the top, there's this feature called filters on YouTube. And if you click that, you have a lot of options, but the relevant one for us is under features. There's subtitles and CC. So if you click that when you do your search, then all YouTube is going to show you are videos that have indicated from the creator end that they have closed captioning on it. To go back to the question from earlier, I actually am not certain if there's a way that a poster can indicate that it's closed captioned, even if they're not using YouTube's captioning feature. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if there's a way that they could click, this is captioned. So with that being a little bit ambiguous, people who are using YouTube's captions and have edited them for accuracy, now you see that all of my results have that little gray CC, and then you have things to choose from and review that will not be automatically generated captions. All right, we are at 11 o'clock. So I will do a quick Kaltura editing tool. Editing the auto-generated captions within Canvas is relevant for anyone using Canvas, which I'm sure after the last year and a half, everyone has some familiarity with having their course content in Canvas. And so I wanted to show folks a little bit about how that works. So I paused sharing. All right. Can you see my Canvas site here, Emily? Oh, shoot. Okay. Don't worry, everybody. We'll get through it. All right. Here we go. So here's my Canvas site. And starting at my dashboard, what I would do to find my videos in Kaltura, I go to Account. I will scroll. Oh, my Zoom is in the way again. Pardon me. Here we go. I go down to My Media, Kaltura. And then you'll see these sample script videos that I made for our presentation today. So pretend that this is a lecture video, and this first one is the one that I want to use. What I first want to indicate when you're here is that there's a CC button for these videos as well. When you click on it, This English will not indicate whether or not it's professional captions or Kaltura's ASR. But as a rule of thumb, if you have not edited your captions, or if you haven't asked anyone else to edit your captions, no one has edited your captions. Kaltura, anything that's automatically put on there will be the auto-generated captions. And I will show you what this looks like just right from the get-go here for a few seconds, and then I'll show you how to access the editing tool.
Video beginning, I am going to read a script. Hi everyone, my name is Tara Schlechter and I work with Media Accessibility in the Disability Resource Center. Today I'm going to show you a demo of Kaltura's captioning editing tool, which is available to each of you inside of Canvas. Before I begin, I want to say that useful captions are much more than words on a screen that match the words being spoken. Useful captions need to not only relay accurate information, but they need to do so in a manner that is relevant to both the speaker and the audience reading the content. If the captions flash by too quickly, or don't have proper punctuation, or delay too long after speech is relayed, an access barrier is created for people who are using captions to access information.
All right. So it may be that I created it and I have a very trained eye, but I saw 4 or 5 mistakes in that 46-second video. The first and most obvious is that my name is not Terry Selector. So if I were an instructor and I were using this video, I would say, oops, that's not what I said. I need to fix that. And so what I do is I scroll down, and I need to move your faces once more. Thank you so much for your patience on that. Okay. I would scroll down to Actions. And in this Actions menu, there's something called Caption and Enrich. I click that. And then I get information about the caption tracks that are on my video. This right here in kind of this grayed row is what I'm referring to. And you can see here that the service says auto-generated. There's this little pencil off to the right that I can click. It's implied that that's the editing button. And then that'll bring me to my closed captions editor. This looks pretty fancy, but it functions a lot like Microsoft Word, like a word processing document, where I can click all of the boxes that show up during the video and just type in my edits. So for example, my name is not Terry Selector, it is Tara Schlechter. And they don't work with media accessibility. I work with. I think I might have said work in. So maybe I have a doubt. What's really great about this feature is over here on the right-hand side, I can just hit play and listen to what I said again.
Hi everyone, my name is Tara Schlechter and I work with Media Accessibility in the Disability Resource Center.
Perfect. I did say work with, so then I can continue. And I would just basically continue down. I could play the whole video over here and just watch the little boxes scroll down as I'm listening, and then pause when I want to make a correction. And then I would go through, fix the mistakes. And when I was done, I would hit save. Am I sure? Yes. And then ta-da, my name is there. And then if I were to go back and rewatch the video, my edits would then appear in that captioning box. And this is all within Canvas. So these are for videos that you have up on your course. So these edits then are immediately accessible to the videos that you're showing. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to say about that. Emily is going to talk next about working with our office with accommodations letters. But before I go over to Emily, does anyone have any immediate or questions related to that demo? Ooh, I see one. Hi, Stacy. Can you shift where the words appear on Kaltura? I think the viewers can. That's a really good question. I would have to dig a little bit. I am I am 70% sure that either you or the person watching the video can move them around. But I could be confusing it with YouTube, because with YouTube, you absolutely can. So let me look. And what I could do is I could find a way to let you know, either at the end of the presentation or after the fact, Stacy, because I do see that we're so close to end time. But thank you for asking.
Okay, and I see a comment in here, Tara, that says very helpful. And yeah, that was nice job. And really, I mean, I think editing the captions in Kaltura can also be fun. Right, yeah, okay.
I think so, but this is also my job, so. Anyway.
Nice, thank you, thanks. Okay, so I'll just, with our last 5 minutes here, I'll just go over media captioning accommodations. I'll give Tara a second to. Thank you. Thanks for navigating all of the sharing and unsharing. Okay, so media captioning accommodations. So really a few things happen. So I'll just start off by saying that accommodation. So we're talking about when there's a disability related accommodation, and that accommodation is called media captioning. When that happens, when you're notified, that's usually often you'll be notified either by the student or by our office. And that would be the first clue that you're like, okay, so I gotta check my content. And I should add that not every student reaches out and shares with their instructor that they're using that accommodation. So you might see it come from our office, and often it comes from an email address that's icu@umn.edu, and that is our interpreting captioning unit, so ICU. So we usually will send out just like a notification, just a simple email explaining, and then within that email we'd share some of this information too. So if you receive a notification about a media captioning accommodation, really we just need a couple things to happen. The first is that you check your content to make sure that it's captioned, and we're the not ASR caption. So if you can go in and just is it accurate? If you weren't using the sound, if you're somebody that uses sound, and if you turn the sound off, could you get the information that you needed out of that video? Was it accurate? That's what we're going for. And then if anything that's not captioned accurately, we need that to be replaced, or we need to create a captioned version. So we need some kind of captioned accessible version available in place of that video that wasn't. And so really, like, some of the ways to do that, to replace anything that's not captioned, is one is you could, like on YouTube, if you're using some YouTube videos, use some of the searches. And I think was it somebody, I can't remember your name, but you wrote in about if something was embedded in YouTube, like, right, it would kind of come up like it would look like it was an ASR video, but you could go in and then watch some of the videos too and just kind of assess, like, oh, these look like accurate captions. There's punctuation in here, words are right. And how it's displaying, it's synced with the audio. And then if you can't find the video that you're using, that you're wanting to use, and you like, hey, I need this for my course, we can create that, and our office can do that. So that's what we're here for. So if you have an accommodation for your class, you can reach out to us. So you can write icu@umn.edu to ask if you think, like, maybe sometimes students they'll just kind of ask. They maybe won't share an official looking letter or anything from our office. You can still reach out and ask. Like, we can't obviously share anyone's name or anything, but you could tell us, like, hey, this student has reached out, and we can look to see if we know of an accommodation that's attached to your course. And if not, maybe the student needs a resource to our office, and then they could come and they could register with us if it's with their access consultant, if they decide that media captioning is the accommodation. So on the next slide, I'll talk about, so when you do have content that you can't find captioned, or you can't, while Tara showed how to use the Kaltura tool, I'm sure there are going to be plenty of instances where you maybe have rather long videos, or the number of videos that you're making, it just maybe isn't going to be feasible to go in and correct all of those in a timely manner, right? So that the student actually has access when they're needing to watch this video. So that's really like reaching out to our office. So after you've identified course content in advance, this is the first bullet on the slide, on Canvas or shown in class, you're going to reach out to us if you need help either replacing or creating a caption track. And I have in advance up here really because we do need some time to get this ready. I mean, we can't, I mean, rarely we could get something done the same day or next day, but if any, and that's like little short 30-second things, and that's a maybe. But if you've got a longer lecture, or a 15-minute, a 60-minute lecture, that's going to take a few business days at the very least. So we do ask that you just kind of look ahead. And just to be honest too, even if you send us your whole semester's worth of videos, we wouldn't necessarily be able to then within a week or two give you back all of your semester's videos. We're working with really the date that it's needed is how we organize the work. And that's really, it's really Tara that's touching every single video and helping create a caption version for it. And then me, but it's just that it's us in the office. So in last year we had about a little over 1,300 requests, which is great. Like we want to create this caption content. So if you do have, and I see that we're wrapping up here. So if you do have anything that's not captioned, you can email us at icu@umn.edu and we'll work with you to figure out ways that we can replace your captioned or create a captioned version. Also here we have a request link, this under submitting a request, there's this bullet that says media captioning request form link, ce.umn.edu/1DRC caption. You could submit your requests there. And there you can tell us, you'll tell us the title that you have and where we can find the video and when it's needed. And then we'll reach out to you to figure out details of how we can share that back with you. And then the last thing here is really, with any questions, email icu@umn.edu. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry about that, Tara. I thought that maybe it was like, oh, I've got to wrap up here. Okay. So if you if you have any questions just about captioning with the DRC, ICU, or about this presentation, or if you need another format, you can reach out to me, Emily Paul, and my email is paul0405. And then you can reach out to Tara if you'd like, and that's schle154@umn.edu. So really, thank you for your time. Thanks for being with us and talking about media captioning. We really appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your day.